The UFC has been quietly putting together 3 banger matchups that are amazing on paper and will be on the night of the fight, but have a lot of implications going on behind them for the careers of these fighters involved that could be detrimental to both sides, if not all around. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into that. Before we do, I want to take a moment to ask if you enjoy my content to like and subscribe. It helps me with this channel. I greatly appreciate it. But let's go ahead and get into it. First fight: Yuri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg. This will be an amazing fight. It's targeted for UFC 327 in Miami, Florida. I don't know if it's main or co-main. Could even be a feature fight. Either way, this has title implications. If Carlos Ulberg wins this, then 100% he needs to fight Pereira. If Pereira goes up and he fights for an interim, then so be it. But he needs to fight Pereira next if he wins this, because Pereira cemented himself as the guy at 205 after the Magomed Ankalaev fight. But for Yuri Prochazka, it's a bit different, because if he wins this, not only will he be going into a trilogy that he's down 0-2 with Pereira. If Pereira moves up, then Yuri's kind of stuck not really having a matchup. Honestly, I'd prefer if Prochazka would have taken on Magomed Ankalaev. I think both of those guys are neck and neck in terms of this division, and there's been beef there before with Ankalaev. Maybe Ali Abdelaziz talking a bit crazy to Yuri, but that'd be a great fight on paper. Now, Ulberg versus Yuri makes sense in all cases, but, there's just a lot on the line. If Yuri loses, that's kind of it. He doesn't really have another chance at the title. I'm sure he could still be a top 5, top 10 guy in the UFC for quite a long time with how athletic he is and how in shape he can stay. But it would be the end of a very good career. And he's on momentum right now. I think he's on a 2, maybe 3 fight win streak and finished 2. The unfortunate thing is they were wars, so he has taken quite a bit of damage. Now, we understand Yuri's durable. He can always bounce back, but you just don't want long-term damage as a fighter in the heavier division. But on the other side, for Carlos Ulberg, if he gets this win, it's a title shot. But if he loses, it's just momentum loss. He's still a young up-and-comer in the division. He's got a lot to prove, not a lot to lose. And losing this fight wouldn't be in the world for him as much as it would be for Yuri. But yet again, this is still an extremely entertaining fight. There's just a lot going on behind the scenes, the risk that each fighter is taking in this. And this is a good fight, but I much more would have preferred to see maybe Ulberg versus Pereira while we wait for heavyweight to figure out, and Prochazka versus Ankalaev for a bad blood matchup that has more title implications. You know what I mean? Yuri, if he wins that, I think he could get a title shot. If Ankalaev were to win, I think he'd need one more, because he lost to Pereira in dominating fashion. But we move on to the second fight that they have announced. Not announced, it's been alleged, but I think it's going to happen. Carlos Prates versus JD fucking M. This is a really good fight. Obviously, it is a bit detrimental, though, because you have a striker versus striker matchup. Now, this is very fun. Both of these guys are pretty young in their career. They've only had one loss, and the loss was tough. Jack Della Maddalena coming off the loss to potential GOAT Islam Makhachev. Really no stock drop there. He just needs to improve his wrestling defense a little bit. It seems like he can defend submissions, but maybe not the get-up. But also Islam's a generational talent, so I'm not going to take anything away from him, and I think people need to give him his respect on that. But his opponent, Carlos Prates, has only had a loss to Ian Gary that he almost won in the end. He just had bad fight IQ, and he's looked good since, knocking out former champion Leon Edwards at a recent event. It's a close fight. It's unfortunate because both these guys are fan favorites. Probably Prates a little bit more with the marketing of the fighting nerds. JDM's not too vocal on the mic. He did just do, like a hangout with Neon, which probably got him some clout amongst the younger generation who followed Neon, unfortunately. But still, 2 fan favorite strikers who aren't going to grapple going into this matchup. I'm worried for it. And obviously, it's a great matchup. There definitely could have been better things to grow both of these guys' careers. I don't know if you should try to kill the hype train of either man, because they're both riding high right now. Just because JDM had a loss to Makhachev doesn't mean he still has a 170 champ material. He's been calling out Shavkat Rakhmonov for years at this point. That would have been a great comeback fight for Shavkat. He's even called out Buckley. Apologies. So those matchups could be made, but right now the big rumor, and even Carlos Prates posting on a story about it, is him versus JDM. I think Prates likes that fight for a title shot. It's not a lot of grappling. He knows he has a chance on the feet. He just put out Leon Edwards. His confidence is sky high. So a good fight. It'll be entertaining if it gets made. There's just a lot on the line, and it kind of sucks for either man. Whoever loses, as a fan and as the fighter, you're going to be disappointed. There's a lot of implications, a lot of career on the line. They're right there at the title, right at break. They're superstars, but just getting into the upper echelon, and this fight could go either way for either man. So it's exciting, but I'm a bit worried about it, I'll be honest. But we'll go ahead and move on to the third fight they've announced. Chin versus Chin, Dominic Reyes versus Johnny Walker. This is going to be an amazingly funny fight, but this might be the most dangerous fight of all that were announced in this video, because both of these men, as you can see, are not exactly in their heyday. Ranked number 9, Reyes, getting his momentum back and then getting chinned, and Walker ranked 12 after a win over Mingyang Zhang back in UFC Shanghai, I want to say. I think that was his last fight. Either way, I want to say Reyes is coming off of a bad KO loss, and Walker's coming off that win, but both these men are not known for their durability, their chin strength, their survivability. This is going to be a Looney Tunes, like Tom and Jerry fight, where they're just both taking turns trying to bonk each other, and whoever gets bonked harder first goes down. Granted, not that hard. Now, I really don't know who I'm going to pick in this matchup. Obviously, you want to favor the resume of Reyes. He has looked good. He's just struggled with his chin, whereas Walker's just more chaotic and kind of gets himself chin in moments and doesn't really defend things too well. But you worry about the physicality and the size of Walker and his reach over a guy like Reyes. If Walker can explode into a 1-2 like Ryan Spann did against Reyes, he could chin him right then and there. So there's a lot on the line here. And this is really kind of the UFC saying, all right, both of y'all are fan favorites in a way, but we're paying you too much for what you're giving us. One of you has to go. So this is pretty much a lose-lose for both men. This fight is save your job for the most part. Obviously, both these guys fan favorites. We don't want them to leave the UFC, but their time has come. Their chin is gone. And it kind of has to happen this way. Old line versus old line. One gets to stay for another fight or two. I know Reyes recently re-signed a contract, so maybe he's not on the chopping block. But you got to imagine Walker, as much as the win over Ming Yang Zhang put some stock back in him, the UFC's probably not looking at this guy like they did when he first came on the scene, thinking that he could beat Jones. So it's an unfortunate reality why this fight is made, but it's an entertaining fight nonetheless. The memes and the chinning that come of this will be legendary, generational, absolutely amazing. But yeah, I just wanted to go over this little short video here. Let me know in the comments who you think's going to win these fights, your opinion on these fights, maybe who you would have matched up better. I appreciate it if you've made it this far in the video. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here again. If you guys like my content, please like, comment, share, subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Yeah, see ya.